Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast. Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Mitchell DiRaimondo. Mitchell DiRaimondo is an American businessman, cross-industry entrepreneur, and digital industrialist, having founded enterprises across the decentralized finance and investment arenas. He currently serves as lead project manager and founder of SteelWave Digital, as the CEO of cobalt investing, and of Teich Digital Ventures, while remaining versatile to investments in like-minded, mission-driven, and 2023-era companies. Mitchell began his endeavors researching and leveraging cryptocurrency market boons in asset class format in 2014 while still in high school. His pragmatic focus then on creating trading strategies that capitalize on the inefficiencies of the traditional marketplace led to his founding company's pioneering approaches, which shared a commonality of creating an outsized positive return of alpha, the majority which were established while Mitch was attending Elon University in 2017. Well, good afternoon, Mitch. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you making the time. I know a lot of times, as you know, calendars get a little bit crazy, but we make it work every time. I've been to 50 countries doing this, so I know how that can be sometimes. So just again, so honored to have you here. And Mitch, jumping right into the questions here, let's talk a little bit about cryptocurrency. You started researching and leveraging crypto markets back in 2014 while still in high school, which is admirable, by the way. Can you share what initially drew you to cryptocurrencies and how you navigated the complexities of these markets at such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up kind of in the epicenter of it. You know, growing up in the Silicon Valley, it's kind of where it was talked about. Everyone was familiar with it in high school. When I was first introduced to it, I was playing golf pretty competitively, and I was like, I want to go be a pro golfer. That's my whole thing. And then I learned what Bitcoin was, and I took a step back, and I'm like, look, this is an investable asset class. It's still very early, very young, but as it develops, I think this will be the future. So I completely turned and dived straight into the crypto rabbit hole, as we call it. But really the thesis back then was, you have to control the risk, right? The risk was massive. The volatility was huge. It was too early to pick your winners and losers, but we set out to trade it all. We're like, look, if we can use AI to scrub data and come out with an output for us, we then can use AI to trade for us. And it was basically a quantitative trading group. In its infancy that grew up, we ended up going to college. I found my coding team in college. We went through 3 market cycles from 2014 to 2020 when we graduated. So we saw it all. We really had a front row seat for the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. We traded through everything in it. And you learn a lot. You see what works, what doesn't, why it doesn't work, and you learn. And I think we're kind of at a crossroads now in this market where I'm very excited to be, kind of leading this next push. So yeah, I mean, that was my backstory, kind of what got me into it. Obviously when I was in college, people weren't too familiar with it. And, a lot of the administration and business school and everything looked down on it, where now it's become kind of a normalcy thing. So we're really excited to see that growth curve and be a part of it.
That's awesome. And thank you for sharing the backstory there. That helps a lot and helps us understand who you are and where you started and where you're at now. That's just awesome. So thank you. And Mitch, as the founder of SteelWave Digital, what unique challenges does the company address within the digital finance space? And what sets your approach apart from others in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, so I graduated and we're still running the hedge fund and we still are. But at the time I was like, look, I see where there's a big gap. There's a gap in real scalable institutional grade assets. There wasn't stuff that, BlackRock, KKR, or international sovereign wealth could scale assets into. So I stepped back and I went to my father, who runs SteelWave's parent company, SteelWave LLC. And I was like, look, if we can really take your real estate to this market and show the market that we have a very unique, scalable private investment, I think we could really be the front edge of real world assets into the digital realm. And he was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go. Let's set out for it. And this was, 2020. So I'd say that's 3 years really after the whole concept of tokenization came out. It was still young. It was early. So for SteelWave, their smallest deal is 100 million. Their biggest goes upwards of $2.5 billion. So that's hard to raise in a new market. And we found that out. We're like, look, everyone's really early. Everyone's young. No one's really bridging in scalable institutional assets. So we step back and we're like, look, if we can launch something that people can wrap their head around, which, everyone knows what a real estate fund is, plain and simple, and the market can understand that, we could really lead the push. And that's what we've been trying to do. We're launching something that we have access to that no one else has, which is the SteelWave real estate pipeline. They've been doing it for 40 years. They create the real estate people really want to be in. And we're excited to bring that to a new market with new investors and new minds, new tech, new everything. It's very exciting.
Thank you. And I know that's a tough space, obviously, to get people to invest. And I've been down that road. Your platform is built on blockchain, by the way, and trying to get people to get excited in something that, again, technology's been around for 12 plus years, but people are still, skeptical to jump into something that's new, and they're not sure that, they're going to get some sort of return on investment. So I totally get that, but definitely. I appreciate you unpacking all that for us today. And Mitch, my next question for you here is, decentralized finance is rapidly evolving field, as you know. Based on your extensive experience, where do you most see a significant potential for innovation and growth within the DeFi space?
I mean, it gets back to the whole concept of real world assets. I think this whole space is starving for product that's backed by real capital, real cash flows. You can run a due diligence package on. People are comfortable investing in it because they can understand the risk. And, real estate's the one that people can wrap their head around easily, but this can span everything. This could be bringing life insurance policies on chain. This could be an art fund. This can be really whatever it has a stable cash flow with a real world backing behind it. Now, I like real estate because I like, seeing stuff grow, changing the way cities, look. I think that's something that's unique and artistic. But yeah, I think, look, anyone that's coming into the space is starting to see that. And what's funny is 18 months ago, 24 months ago, when we were pitching this, we were almost laughed off the stage because people are like, oh, who wants a 10% cash flow? We're looking for the 200 to 1,000% return. And then the bear market hit, and now people are coming and going, wow, that actually sounds like a pretty good investment idea. And we knew it was coming. So we're really trying to be on the front edge of it. And, I think this next bull market is really going to be backed by real world assets, but also the projects that allow that to happen, right? You're going to start to see the ones that make these rails easier, cheaper, come to the top. And I think that's what you're going to start to see over the next 18 months for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And as you know, we're starting to get a little bit of traction in the DeFi space now, as you know, and, the Bitcoin ETF has got a lot of hype around that. And I hope in the next couple of years that, blockchain, crypto, DeFi, all that's really part of our vocabulary. It's part of the mainstream. I really do. So I appreciate your perspectives. And Mitch, last question of the day, for young entrepreneurs and investors looking to make their mark in the digital finance space, what advice do you offer based on your own experiences and successes?
I mean, at the end of the day, my biggest advice I tell people is don't follow the hype, follow the team. You want to look at who's running your project. You want to understand how they're looking at it, why they're looking at it the way, and feel comfortable with that team as opposed to following the whole hype cycle around crypto. I've watched it go through countless projects. It's a great idea, this, that. And then, next thing you know, it's worth zero. And I've also seen projects where people, cast a bunch of doubt, but the team is going to be something that's pivotal, come to the top. I think a good example of this is Solana, with what happened with FTX and their capital stack kind of getting ripped out from under them. And that team is very good. I really think they're on to the next level, and they're a good example of that. So if you can copy that and see the rise and follow that path, I think you're going in the right direction.
Thank you. And I appreciate you kind of highlighting, don't follow that hype. We've all seen it the last several years. Things come and go.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Really do appreciate your perspective, because you're in this every day, and our audience appreciates that. So
Well,
Mitch,
thank you so much. Yeah.
You're very, very welcome. It was such a pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Definitely. Yeah. Have a good one, and looking forward to chatting in the future.
Bye for now.